Good morning, everyone, and welcome to day 5 of the Power Series. Today is the 5th day of January 2026, and it's a pleasure to be with all of you this morning. And thank you, my dear sister, for leading us in worship. And I pray that God will answer our prayers today as He has always done. And I also believe that God is here within us. So I want all of us to be alert at this time, to continue to be alert like you have been, as we look at day 5 in our power series. In the past few days, we have been going through this study on the art of becoming. The art of becoming. If you take a look at it, when you say art, there's something about it. It could be the science of becoming, but that shows you that becoming is something you work at. It's something that is very, very practical, not theoretical. In day 1, we were introduced to the unsearchable God, because we believe that for you to become, you need to start with God first, not with you first. Let's start with God. I will not go, to every one of us. So that is the focusing on God. Then, of course, in the 2, no other God. There's no other God, but Yahweh. Because if you want to become, you have to know who you are becoming, who you are following, who you are, the DNA, that you carry. There are so many other principles in this world, or so many value system, so many man-made gods, but we have to find out which one you are. And of course, in day 3, we looked at knowing God's greatness. We have to begin to appreciate God. Where by the time you know God's greatness, then automatically what it does is that it just pulls you to God naturally. So but today we're going to be going to the battlefield. Today, if you've had any ear in the news, you'll have noticed a few things happening globally. Apart from here in Nigeria, we hear what is happening in Venezuela. We also hear what is happening in Iran, or Iran, like the Americans would like to call it. And you see that there are battles going on. And today, brothers and sisters, we would like to also let you know that we are also in a battle. The Christian race is a battlefield. You are in a battle. I am in a battle. But beyond the kind of battle or that people fight, this is actually God's battle. And that is where we are going to start by looking at just 2 very short passages in the Bible. As always, we're not going to be looking at the additional reading, which we encourage you to go and take time out to read. The further readings are very short, just 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 3 and 4. Then Romans chapter 12, my favorite scripture in the New Testament, Romans chapter 12, verse 1 and 2, the one that talks about being transformed, right? So today we're going to be looking at God's battle. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and read that Genesis chapter 3. Just 1 verse from Genesis and 3 verses from 1 Corinthians. 1 verse from Genesis, 3 from 1 Corinthians. This verse from Genesis is considered by many theologians to be the earliest messianic prophecy. Messianic had to do with the Messiah, the earliest messianic prophecy. And it goes, and this was after the fall of man, Adam and Eve, and God was making those pronouncements against them, against Adam, against Eve, against the serpent, against the ground. And in verse 15, God says that I will put enmity. Okay, I'm going to put enmity between you and the woman. Now, talking to the serpent, I'm going to put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and hers. I said, he will crush your head and you will strike his heel. He will crush your head and you will strike his heel. Now, if you have ever watched the Passion of the Christ, which I haven't watched, surprisingly, it will interest you to know that I've not really watched it in all these 2 decades or so that it came out. I've seen a bit of it, but it was just too gory, for me. But I know that when Jesus was at the Garden of Gethsemane, the movie Passion of the Christ, tried to capture this side where the snake came, and when he struggled and struggled at the point when he became very, very strong and very, very convinced. There was a point where he struck the head, he squashed the head of the snake, which is going back to this particular passage in Genesis. So you could see that battle began a long time ago. God has said there's going to be enmity, there's going to be battle for your soul. So you are not a physical being trying to have spiritual experience like you've had me say many times, but you are a spiritual being that is trying to make sense of the physical world. So you are first spiritual before you have this coat that you have, this flesh that you and I have. All right. So, what I'm going to continue to explain that later, let me just go ahead and read the second scripture, which is 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 1 and 3. And this is about church, leadership of the church and everything. But we're just going to take those few verses. It said, brothers and sisters, Paul was writing to a church in Corinth here. Say, I will not address you as people who live by the Spirit. Or rather, you can say, I will not, and some Bible version will say, I won't address you as spiritual, but worldly. I mean, you're not spiritual. I can't, he said, I won't address you as people who live by the spirits. Okay. I guess this new NIV has morphed it in a better way. We're getting better translation every now and then. So they are supposed to be spiritual being, but Paul said, I cannot address you as people who live by the Spirit. So one thing is to be a spiritual being, another thing is for you to live by the Spirit. But Paul said, but I address you as people who are still worldly, and they call them mere infants in Christ. And I'm going to be explaining what some of these things mean soon. In verse 2, he said, I gave you milk, not solid food, for you were not yet ready for it. Indeed, you are still not ready. Can you imagine that? I know by the time we go down to the book of Hebrews, I believe, and what it talks about, solid food is for the mature, who by constant use have trained themselves to distinguish good from evil. So even right now, Paul said, I'm giving you milk, because you are still an infant. Of course, parents will know here that when our children were younger, they didn't start eating a bar from day one, or start cracking bone from day one, or start chewing more from day one. We gave them something that they could absorb, and that was the milk. Say, I gave you milk, not solid food, for you are not yet ready for it. Indeed, you are still not ready. You are still worldly. Paul said, you are still worldly. For since there are jealousy, quarrel amongst you, are you not worldly? Are you not acting like mere human beings? So that means that as Christians, people who are, who have touched the hem of God, there needs to be a distinction between us and the rest of the world. When the Bible says you are act like mere human beings, you are like every other person. There should be something that distinguishes us from everyone. We are created spiritual beings. We should be the people that are more in touch with spiritual activities around us. And for people who are not in touch, there are some things that you will see that will betray their spirituality. Okay, when they are petty. Okay, people who are very petty, every small thing, quarrel, jealousy, but Paul said you are still very much an infant. every time, including yesterday, as a teacher, I do correspondence a lot every day. People send me WhatsApp messages. I see a lot of them I've never found time to respond to. A lot of them, emails, mostly WhatsApp. Now, it used to be emails in those days. Now, mostly WhatsApp messages, and people wanted to know this and they want to know that. And I know yesterday I was speaking to my wife. Sometimes, people think this thing is so big, and they will ask me, okay, what does the Bible, the Greek or the Hebrew or whatever say about this? And I will tell them it's the same thing. Whatever the English translation says, that's what the Hebrew says. The English is just translating it. And people will come with one big, and somebody sent me one video. Oh, bro, you need to listen to this. I'm like, okay, I'm going to find time to listen. This was like maybe before Christmas. And I did. I was like, there's nothing, really. So sometimes, because of the level that we are, we kind of make a big deal when there's no big deal, really. But our prayer, like Paul prayed for the churches also, that be able to grow in your knowledge of God, be able to grow in your wisdom of God. In the book of Philippians, we were told, add to your faith goodness, add to it brotherly kindness, add to it, we need to grow. The Bible said that if you possess all these things in increasing measure, it will stop you from being myopic, from being nearsighted. You're not going to be blown like another passage say, you're going to be blown like the wave and tossed around. So today, are you aware that you are in a battle? There's actually a spiritual battle going on, on your behalf. So one of the things that you need to know is that spiritual conflict is unavoidable. It has been there. I was teach somebody about conflicts last week or so, and I said, listen, God made us in conflicts. Bible says He made them male and female. That's what they call conflict, male and female. We are not alike. We are different. But these are spiritual conflicts. There are spiritual battles that are going on when things happen to you. Do you see everything as just as a mere human being? Like everything is just a coincidence. When they say that when something happens to you once, not they say, I'm the one that actually say that, when something happens to you once, it's called a coincidence. Sorry, it's called an accident. Well, it's just the first time. If it happens to you a second time, it's a coincidence. It's a co-incident. It happens to you a third time, becomes an incident. What happened to you a fourth time? So we have to be spiritually awake. Your Bible will use a word. They will say, "Fora." You have to have some intuition. You have to have some intuition. So spiritual conflict is something that is inevitable because the battle began in Eden. You didn't start that battle. The battle has already been raging even before you were born. So the battle began in Eden, and God Himself said He's going to put enmity, between the offspring of Eve, which is the first human there, and the offspring of Satan. So in other words, you can see there's going to be an ideology. There's going to be an ideology conflict here. There's going to be a belief conflict. There's going to be something here. Now, if you are not in conflict with the world, in terms of the negativity of the world, then what you are is you are actually accepting it. There are so many things today that are not right about the world. I mean, there's many things that are right also about the world. I was again in my debates. I had to do a rebuttal yesterday. A rebuttal after my Muslim friend has finished, trying to counter the things that I said. I had to do a rebuttal. And after the rebuttal, I mean, look, we're talking about Venezuela or whatever. So a lot of time, people make everything a religion. It is religion. When America or the West do something, they see it as the Christian against the Muslim, whatever. So people look for cheap points. And this my Muslim friend, Dr. Ishmael, He said something about what just happened, that the world order is being broken by America. And I said, yes, you are correct, actually. And I said, what America did should have been done by the UN. No one country has the right to go to another country and just whatever. Because it starts just once. Before you know it, it begins to move. And people were surprised because I'm not supposed to be supporting the Muslim guy. But it's not about supporting the Muslim guy. It's about saying what is the facts, right, at every time. So the battle is always there. So if you are not very spiritually intelligent, we talk about emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is knowing a lot about yourself, knowing a lot about people around you, and being able to navigate those cracks, those situations. But you can be emotionally intelligent, but not be spiritually intelligent. So what is the Spirit saying to you right now? What is the Spirit saying to us right now? What is the Spirit doing in the world, right now? So the battle has always been gone, and it continues. That battle that began in Eden, which is a physical place somewhere there, has been taken into our hearts. So that's why Paul writes that we're not fighting against flesh and blood. It is now the war rages in my heart, and you cannot say you are not there. There's no during the Second World War, I believe, First War, Second World War, there are people that are called the non-aligned nation. Africa is one of them. Many countries in Africa, and the Cold War was between Soviet Union and US. Now they call it Cold War because nobody shot a gun. It's just like having attitude. So they're trying to outdo one another. And some of those outdo is like two children throwing tantrums. That's what they were doing, really. And the Russians want to go to the moon. Americans, so we're going to do it first. Russia, whatever, so it was just a Cold War. And they're looking for people who are going to align, with them. Just like right now, there is BRICS. It's always between Russia and right now, it's going to be also China as coming. Russia, China, India. Those are big, countries. And so anybody in between becomes the bride that you can either woo or you can kidnap if you want to. Because everybody is trying to grab as many people as possible. China is coming to Africa. Now US with their own brute force is trying, and so many things. So in this battle that began in Eden, neutrality is not an option. Okay, you can't say, "Oh, I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to say what." You cannot be, neutral because it's inevitable. It's inevitable, and I want you to begin to reflect. And my call to reflection will be: where are you spiritually complacent today? Where are you spiritually complacent? I mean, when I use the word complacent, I mean where you're kind of satisfied, if you want to put it that way, or self-satisfied, or you're just, I'm okay, it doesn't concern me. Is there any area where you are not spiritually alert? Okay, when things happen around you, for me, I'm training myself to be very spiritually alert when things happen in my life or don't happen. I want to find out why, and I want to plug in spirit. Like yesterday, I was telling my wife yesterday or 2 days ago. I said when I seek something and I work hard for something and I put on my best and it doesn't happen, but normally it's supposed to happen, right? If you do the right thing and put the right mechanism, whatever there, and all your indices are checked and everything, it's supposed to happen. But when it doesn't happen, I say, okay, maybe God does not want this for me now. Maybe God has a better plan, for me. Okay, maybe, God is saying, wait a little bit, whatever. So I'm always trying to make sense spiritually, in the things that I do. And I want you to be to think about it that way. I'm talking about where you blame God for everything that happens in your life, but when you kind of commit and say, okay, God, I want you to help me decide here. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to take decision. But whatever I want to do is not what I don't want to do. God, speak to me. God, you can speak to me through your word. You can speak to me through people. You can speak to me through your dreams. You can speak to me through angels that I might not even know they are angels. I can speak to through nature. Can speak to me through so many things. So it is very, very important that we become spiritually activated. Very, very important. Don't be like a phone that is just a phone. I actually have a phone here that is just a phone, There's no SIM card, there's no Nigerian SIM card or anything there. So it's just to take pictures and everything, but be activated. So that it's restricted what it can do. The only time I use that phone is when I connect to the internet by Wi-Fi. So I cannot check my account balance. I cannot do so many things on it, because it is very limited. So I want all of us to be able to ask ourselves, which area of our life are we being limited, that we are not just putting our weight. All right. So, and I want you to tell yourself that you remain alert and engaged. You have to remain alert. Peter, in one of his books, and First, Second Peter, he said, do not fall asleep, be alert. Okay, do not just sleep, be alert. Because Satan is going around like a lion, look for who to devour. Because he knows that he's in a battle. He knows, he's always know. But we are the one that once in a while we forget or totally forget that we are in the battle. So when some things happen to you, it might just be a coincidence. It might be part of the battle. That Satan wants your soul. Satan is trying to pull you. Satan is trying to get you. Satan is it's trying to make you fall. Don't just be humanistic about everything that happens in your life. So another thing that jumps out from that two passages that we just read is that stagnation, when you remain stagnant, my stagnation actually serves the enemy. Okay, whenever I'm not pulling my weight, it's as if I'm working for the enemy. Okay? I'm actually giving opportunity for the enemy. Remember, number one, there's no demilitarized zone, there's no on the fence, you have to take a stand. Then, of course, your stagnation serves the enemy. Paul was saying, listen, man, you guys are still infants, spiritually infants. He said, I'm giving you milk. Some of the things I'm teaching you, they are milk. All right, because we are not that mature. And I know a few times in church, so a few people come to us and say, Emmanuel, these things you are teaching are too heavy for them. Can I just teach them simple? I said, sure, that one too, I can do. But the truth is that we all need to mature. We also need, need to grow. So, immaturity in our life, it stalls our growth. Okay, immaturity stalls our growth. Can you imagine a child, that is 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, and it still wants to live on just milk? It doesn't want to eat solid food. The child is getting bigger, but it doesn't want to change diets. So in the same way, also, I think you also need to change your diet. What are the diets you are consuming? I want to encourage you, not challenge you. I want to encourage you to read a book. This year, if you've not done that, or if you're not in the habit of doing that, in addition to reading your Bible, pick a book that will challenge you and read. Think outside the box. Put yourself. Pick up a book on faith. Pick up a book on. If you don't know, you can ask me. I can make some recommendations. For you based on what you want to learn. I can give you some books that can really serve you. Because if we don't do it, we need to know that our flesh resists transformation. Normally, there's something about human beings. We just like to stay where we find a comfortable zone. We just stay there. We don't like to be challenged. We don't, and that's what happens with our muscles. Our muscles just become flat, but you have to work it for it to become strong. And the older you get, the more you lose calcium. I mean, that's a strange thing. Your bones become brittle and everything. And one of the ways you can actually keep those things strong is by exercising, is by making sure you are not too sedentary. So you have to work on your faith the same way. So immaturity, it stalls your growth. Okay, if you're not craving, if you're not, it's a maturity. It's not just size. It's what goes on inside. I will say, explain this to our kids in our new year. This thing. I say, have you seen some of those pawpaw that is very big? But you say, this is very big, but look inside, it's not mature at all. Or maybe a tree, or maybe something. Human beings can be like that spiritually also. Longevity, how long you've been a Christian, does not automatically translate into your maturity. Okay, you might be here for a long time, but your maturity might be stunted. So I want to encourage all of us today, to begin to do that. One way to do that is to begin to resist, the things of the devil, because our flesh resists transformation naturally. Our flesh, because it's the body wants to be comfortable, the body doesn't want to feel pain, the body doesn't want to feel stress. But so the body is all about self-preservation. It just preserves itself. But spiritually, you need to be able to break through the barriers around you. So where has growth slowed in your life? I want us to just think, even now, which area has growth slowed in your life? Growth could be prayer life, I don't know, Bible study, fellowship, outreach, financial commitments, service, giving, joyfulness, community. Just think about it. Which area, has growth, slowed down in your life? So all of us today, we need to commit to maturity. Okay, we need to commit that. I'm going to commit to my maturity. Tell yourself, I commit to maturity. Okay, I commit to maturity. And when you commit to it, guess what? You're going to be able to see areas where you can, mature. The last thing that I say here, it is for you to be victorious. Just like what Paul was saying. If you put it together, from Genesis and everything, that your victory, my victory, will require intentional assistance. Okay, it requires intentional assistance. In the book of Galatians, I believe, we are Ephesians, we are introduced to the armor. So you need intentional assistance. I cannot do it on my own. Definitely, you cannot do it on your own. So God provides the armor for us. Okay, God provides the armor, that we need. But if God provides the armor, God will not come and wear the armor for you. Okay, God's not going to wait for you. God will expect you to put on the armor. So God gives you the safety nets, God gives you the seat belt, God gives you the helmet, God gives you the biker jacket, God gives you everything. But you yourself have to now intentionally put them on. And that's why the Bible tells us that we should put on the armor, the full armor, the whole armor of God. Because sometimes you might just prefer one and you don't like the other. Well, this one is too inconvenient for me. Like some people that will say, someone was telling me, I don't like wearing seat belts. I said, why don't you want? He said, because it stains his clothes. I said, that's because you will not be wearing it. If you wear your seat belt regularly, it will not stain your clothes. If you wear it regularly, because it will be clean. If you wear it regularly, it will be clean. And I said, what you can do? You can get a handkerchief if you're wearing white and wrap around, or you can even buy some of those, seat belts, wrap around that they sell. You don't put it well. But because those seat belts is not for fancy. You are more worried about it either wrinkling your clothes or staining your clothes. But that seat belt can save your life. Okay, it can save your life. So the things that God has given to us, you might see it as inconvenience, but those are the things that you need for spiritual growth. So you need to put on the full armor of God. So are you equipped for this resistance that we're talking about? Are you equipped for the spiritual resistance? I mean, I was watching all these viral videos about what happened in Iran. And some people had to get ingenuity. There's some ingenuity. When police are there to restrain them, what do other people have? They will pick stone and they will throw stone. Sometimes they will throw sticks. Sometimes they will be doing all kinds. They're looking for what can we do to fight these people. And sometimes people will say, okay, let's go and get petrol, or let's go and get kerosene and put it in bottle and put a rag on it, put on fire and throw it, and then to making petrol bomb or kerosene bomb. But one of the most ingenious one that I saw recently are people they want to go and get fireworks. They'll get all these fireworks, the one that shoots, the one in a pipe, and they tape all of them together like in a cone, and they put it for, and it's as if having a rocket, and someone was carrying that, boom, 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 boom. So you have to get ingenious, when you're fighting this battle. So you have to. be equipped. You in this resistance that we have, you need to be equipped with the right thing. If the devil that is fighting you has his own armor, you need to put on the armor of God. You can't put on any other armor. Your armor must be of God that is stronger than the one that Satan is going to use on it. So do you stand with God today? Okay, personally, I stand firm in God's strength. Okay, you need to know that you need to stand firm in the strength that that comes from God. So this God's battle, I want to open your eyes to be able to see the area. Elijah to pray that God will open the eyes of his servants to be able to see there is war, the original around you. And so if you are self-aware, then you can now self-regulate. So if you are self-aware that every step you take, there is a battle. You're waking up today is a battle. You're going out today is a battle. Satan is going to try to be there. It's not just the person on traffic. It's not just the the inconsistent co-worker. It's not whatever. Do you see that Satan can use all these things to get at you? To get at your mood, to discourage you, to get you to want to shout back, to want to quarrel, to want to fight. So if you are self-aware, you can now regulate yourself. You tell yourself, you know what, that is too cheap. Satan, get behind me. I'm not going to quarrel with anybody. I'm not going to raise my voice. I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to, because I am aware that behind these things that are human, Satan can use it to get me down. So for today, for our call to action today, is for all of us to identify, just one struggle in your life. What are the struggles you have right now? One struggle, one spiritual struggle that you have. Identify it. Pray about it, fast about it. Call somebody that you trust, that can encourage you and possibly challenge you and talk about it, because you cannot fight this battle alone. God, initiated, this battle a long time ago. There's going to be war. I mean, Satan, started it, and mankind engulfed it, and God said, because of there's going to be constant friction, between the offspring of the woman and the offspring of this, Satan himself, who was typified by that serpent. So, and that is how we've inherited. We are born into that world. That world where Satan is constantly looking for the souls of men, looking for people. I mean, Satan is behind many things today that we have here. Satan is behind ISIS. Satan is behind Boko Haram. Satan is behind bad, government. Satan is behind so many kidnapping. I mean, why would anybody do things like that, require money, for the life of people, and after they'll kill the people and every single thing. So Satan has his sword in his grip. So it's for us right to know, how do we engage? First, beginning for us, how do we engage? And I think one of the first place that we can engage is on our knees in prayer. So that's where we're going to be running up today's talk on the past series. Today is day 5. I'm going to be opening it up at this time for your comments. What are you? Do you have anything you want to share? What jumped out? What are your points of conviction you would like to share? What would you like to do differently? What did you learn? What changes are you going to make? This is where we do do that. Then afterwards, we're going to go to God in prayer. So the lines are open right now, and my eyes are also going to the chat to see if there are any questions or any comments that we can read. Okay. All right. Thank you. There's a prayer there. All right, cool. All right. So I'm going to expect those hands to go up. At this time, we have 15 minutes before we round up. Now, the second opportunity we're going to have is opportunity to pray. Today is the 5th day of January, and a lot of you, I